Hello and welcome to this edition of Crossover. I'm T Xiaojun with Kelly and Julian.
Hi.
Bonjour.
Hello.
Bonjour.
How are you
Ça va
this
bien?
year?
Je vais très bien. Et toi? Tu vas bien?
Okay, that's good to hear.
Like last time I came here, it was
The New Year's party.
it was champagne
celebration.
everywhere.
That's true. We had actually a special program, and we've invited all these, some of these guest speakers, and also some, foreign, we say experts working for all these different foreign language channels.
Yeah, there was a few
CCTV.
Spanish guys that taught us some Spanish dance. This was cool.
And I was lucky enough to be asked to be together with the martial arts artist.
Yes.
And he needed a target.
Okay.
And you felt how hard the floor is.
And it should be Julian. It should have been Julian.
But I was late, so it was your turn.
Come on. Today, actually, we wanted to share with you some of the latest stories, and it's all about wine.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's
or
my question.
Chinese-
Why are we
Chinese
not
liquor.
drinking wine on this lovely evening?
When you know the story that we are going to share with you, you know why.
Yeah, no, I don't know what you have. Mine is baijiu. This is white alcohol.
Happy New Year.
Okay,
Yeah.
but talking about baijiu, Chinese liquor, what is the brand that you can think of?
M-O-U-T-A-I.
What is it?
I don't know why it's M-O-U-T-A-I.
It's
Do you know?
Multi.
Yes,
That's
it's
the
the
old
old Cantonese spellings. I think it's based on that.
It's a brand that has a long history, and I guess when it was first introduced to the foreign countries, then maybe it's done in not the current modern
Yeah.
Pinyin way. It's done in a different way.
There are also a lot
Multi.
of brands, like most brands actually, that were introduced a few decades ago, were actually based, the Chinese characters were actually based on the Cantonese pronunciation.
That's true.
So when you look at the characters, if you pronounce them in the common language, in Mandarin, you don't see why it was a phonetic transcription. And then you read it in Cantonese, it's nearly the same.
But Mao Tai is from my native province of Guizhou.
That's true.
So in Guizhou, nobody speaks Cantonese.
No. The idea is that back in the day, let's say 80 years ago or 50 years ago, when those things were famous abroad, back then, not most, but many Chinese people that were in the US or in Europe spoke Cantonese.
The latest development about Mao Tai is they issued kind of a notice to all these retailers and wholesalers. It's a price limit for one specific type of Mao Tai spirit. It's 53 degrees in alcohol, and they say the price shouldn't be higher than 959
So
yuan.
you mean in a restaurant or in a shop?
Not
or a
in the
store?
restaurant, in those shops, franchise shops.
Okay.
So it's 959, no more than that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Usually, how much do they go for?
Well,
this is
it's
for
been-
like a specific size, right? Like 500
Yeah, it's
milliliters.
half a liter.
Well, it's. I know we're not talking about that, but there are a lot of issues with multi-alcohol. A lot of people are trying to make fake alcohol too, and so it's very hard. I think it's important to control. So they have to control a lot of the prices too.
And what is the reason? If you could make a guess, we don't know why. We can only try to analyze it, but
Well, there has to be some kind of industry standard,
yeah. But
right?
what is it?
Well, I don't know.
No, there's a lot of this specific reason I don't know, but I can tell you that I've seen a lot of fake multi on the market. So many people try to
How
do
do you
some
know
fake.
that they're fake?
Because
You can taste it?
you can not only taste it, but you can feel it. Your body doesn't feel right. There's a lot of fake alcohol everywhere, and after drinking it, if you have a headache, if you have a bad stomach, you know that's the fake alcohol.
Well, the real Mao Tai is supposed to be really smooth, and it's got like a sweet aftertaste, right? It shouldn't be biting or.
It is biting. It's in Chinese. It's called jiangxiangxing, which is a type of flavor that is kind of aggressive in the beginning, but gets very tasty.
Man,
Has
we
a
are
very
talking about
nice
the
smell.
price. I know you're really a drinker, but yeah, the taste obviously it's good.
Really a
The
drinker.
taste, yeah, it's supposed to be good. They have to control the market because a lot of people are trying to kind of boost the prices. This I have seen. I mean, a lot of the market, if you don't control the market, it's a mess because some people think,
true.
okay, there's so many people want to buy it,
But
and I only have
at the same
1,000
time,
bottles.
at the
What do I
same
do?
time, this policy is obviously not working. I mean, it's 959. That's the price limit given by the company. But in the market, you couldn't even find any.
I know.
Whatever
that's
the
why it
price
sounds,
can be.
It sounds very inexpensive.
I don't know
Doesn't
what. It shouldn't be that expensive. I mean, it depends what kind of bottle that is. But the average
Half
normal,
a liter, half liter. So it's
half a liter is the normal EGN in
That's right.
China. This is the regular bottle. I don't think it should be higher
And the
than
price in New York, the same Maotai.
Oh, let me take
And
a guess.
one kilogram.
1 kilogram or
So it's
half a
two.
kilo?
No,
yeah,
it's
two
basically 1 liter. So
Let me take a guess. The equivalent of 10,000 RMB.
in New York, right?
Yeah, that's my guess.
You will be surprised.
It's even more. 20,000.
No, I don't
No.
think it would be more. No.
It's 220 to 230 US dollars. So
Oh, really?
it's cheaper in New York.
But you know that. Oh, that's
That's
interesting.
not cheaper. 230.
But
That's
this
more
is
than,
1 liter.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually cheaper.
Normally speaking, the spirit Chinese liquor is always more expensive overseas. Remember Arquoto, one of the locally made brands in Beijing, actually. That one, it's like 2-3 kwai. Or 10 something, 20 something in Beijing, but very expensive in other countries like in Australia, right?
The
It's
one-
$20 or something.
Well, I don't know in the stores, but the one that is sold, that has always been 8 yuan RMB in China, I saw it in a Sichuan restaurant in Paris for 200.
Sichuan restaurant in Paris.
Euros?
200 francs back in the day. It
Oh,
was francs,
francs,
but it
okay.
was the equivalent of 250 RMB.
That's
Which is more than like 80 times.
Yeah, the same with
8 times the-
Argoto in New York, in
Yeah.
LA. Yeah.
So it's
that is
like
true.
a rare item that you can buy. So these days, what's happening to Maotai is actually if you're coming back from New York,
It's
what
more
you bring
expensive
back
here.
home,
Oh.
Maotai, because it's cheaper.
It's
Why?
unbelievable.
So why? You're
why,
basically
Julian?
Julian, you're an expert.
Well, here is my wild guess. A lot of people used to buy. Okay, Maotai is the type of alcohol you drink on very official dinners, when you have to invite important people, and most of the time, when people buy Maotai, it's either it's very very rare that it's actually individuals that pay for it. They always put that on either the work whatever organization they work for or their own company. But they're not going to pay themselves. It's a little that I used to have those discussions for 5-star hotels.
So Maotais are bought on board as presents.
So a
Given
lot of
to someone else.
Presents is one thing, and also at big dinners, and anyway, it's all about face. It's all about face. So we're going to have all the Maotai and everything. And usually people don't care that much about the high price.
Well, people do care, but when it's paid by a company, by an organization, maybe not
Right.
that
care
much.
less.
How many people have actually bought a bottle of Maotai to drink for themselves?
That's
Have
true,
you?
and that's
Have
why.
you?
I don't know one single person.
That's
No, I
why.
don't
That's
think
why
I've met
we
anybody
say the ones who buy Maotais are not the ones who drink them, or the
Right.
ones who drink them are
So-
not the ones who buy them.
It almost feels like if I wanted to drink some Maotai and you wanted to drink some, you would buy a bottle to give to me and I'll buy a bottle to give to you, but we don't drink the bottles that we bought for ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
That's
It's
true.
almost
And-
like it's a culture of
And most of the
Giving.
time, I actually give you a bottle that I actually had there because I went maybe somewhere and they offered me that bottle of Maotai. I'm not drinking it. And I say, what do I offer to Jaja? I'm going to offer this bottle to Jaja.
when?
Well, never. If you want one?
Think about it. Think about it. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, more stories about Maotai. You're watching Crossover.
冇諗過係佢救翻公司。嗰次批貨中途滯留喺外國港口，要即刻諗辦法。咁夜邊個翻嚟幫手？
我睇咗新聞啦，唔怕，貨倉仲有貨，即刻揾貨運公司啊！
全靠佢，我至及時空運到另一批貨出去。佢呢個年紀又唔熟呢行，我請佢揾同事培訓佢，以為幫緊佢，原來係佢幫咗我就真。我樂意支持中年就業計劃。
And welcome back to Crossover. So here comes this crucial moment as Julien is going to tell Kelly when you're going to give her a Maotai.
Yes. There's a bottle with my name on it.
I actually have some Maotai red wine at home.
What do you mean by
really?
Maotai red wine?
They have some red wine that is
You know,
Maotai branded.
this is really interesting because
But Maotai is known as the
Yeah.
brand for Chinese spirit.
I haven't tried it. I have it there.
Oh, right.
I think I have
That's
two
so
bottles.
strange because I had a bottle of wine that was made by the XO company. What's that company?
Yes.
Martelli or whatever. Which I never knew that they made red wine. Why is everybody making red wine?
Yeah, but remember that places like cognac and the kind of brandy, those kind of alcohols, most of the time they are made out of grapes. So it's very easy for them, since they grow grapes anyway, in those regions, you know, it's easy to make some wine. It's not like whiskey, which is not made from fruits.
Is it from rice?
No, whiskey is not from rice. It's from, they call that malt or whatever it is from.
This is
wheat
a
or-
very professional show today.
Yeah, it is.
Congratulations.
It is indeed. I know. I mean, he is an expert. But talking about Maotai, we all know Maotai is a famous brand, and it is, to some extent, it's seen as the national symbol, especially
In a way.
in that regard. And there are quite a few stories. Have you heard about that one? Because, you know, Maotai, the company, because it's a company with a long history, about 100 years. And
Oh,
they
I know the
went to-
Nixon story.
No, even earlier than
Before
that.
that.
They went to one of the predecessors of World Expos, and we didn't have World Expos before at the time. In 1915,
Oh, I think there was one
it's
that
like a world exhibition.
it was shared between I think San Francisco and Panama. I think it was.
That's true.
That's
And at the time, because Maotai was not a famous brand at the time, and you know, Chinese liquor is something you don't really see that much these days, and they were not doing so well at the exhibition because no one ever even bothered to come over to the counter. But what happened was they accidentally broke one bottle of Maotai. And in that venue, everyone could smell the flavor of Maotai, and they were kind of attracted to that place. So, this is Maotai. It's like a legend people are telling these days about this
You
brand.
don't know if it's true or not.
It might be true. You know, Chinese white alcohol, Chinese liquor, has this thing in particular that it has. I mean, every different brand has a different flavor, and it's very, very different. And it's something that I used to have a hard time actually appreciating it, and sometimes it's pretty hard on you in the beginning.
Right.
But once you learn to appreciate it, and my teacher was drinking a lot of it, so I was trying everything, all the good ones, and someday I went back to some average vodka, and I couldn't see what I used to think, that vodka was actually better than Chinese liquor, and now what I feel is that I've had some really, really good vodka, but it was brought by a friend of mine who was from Poland and brought it from there. But
So now Chinese liquor trumps everything.
well, there's something. You know, most of the vodka you find in the market is nice to drink, but they don't add this kind of flavor that you have in the Chinese liquor. That can be really, really nice. Maotai is not my personal favorite, but
Well, but okay. How much alcohol is in it? Because the Nixon story is about lighting
Right.
Maotai.
Premier
Have you
Zhou
heard of
Enlai.
this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he showed Nixon that he could light it, and Nixon didn't believe it, but Premier Zhou actually did it. So Nixon went home. It was like trying to show his daughter how he could light up like a glass, a shot of Maotai, but he like almost burned down the White House.
but you can do that with a lot of alcohols. I mean,
Like vodka.
Yeah,
So
with
in
vodka, with
19
the
yeah.
cognac, you can do it.
The Nixon's visit, that was in 1972.
70s, right?
72.
1972. And when
Yeah,
Nixon
you
paid
should
his first
remember
visit.
it was before our time, but
Our viewers
you were
wouldn't
in
get it. I mean,
college by
it's
then.
only between us. Yeah. Our
on,
viewers
Julian.
wouldn't get it.
60s, no? 70s.
Oh, you went to
you were
college
already
in the
working for CCTV, right? What
Yeah.
kind of makeup do you
Even
use?
before CCTV was established. Anyway.
When's the next show for?
Well, they won't get it. They won't get it anyway. Okay, it's just between
We
you two.
will
You two
help
guys.
them get it.
So that was in 1972 when President Nixon was visiting China for the first time, and Premier Zhou Enlai was treating him to that nice banquet, and so that was the time when basically maybe after the Panama World Exhibition story, and that was the story that everybody is talking about.
But when,
Moutai.
yeah, but when did it become like the national liquor?
After
Guojiu,
that.
right? After
that.
Nixon.
That was
It's been
really
used in
after.
the state banquet.
Oh, but wasn't it like for Margaret Thatcher, and then like for
That's after that.
the Taiwanese guys, for everybody that came, like all the
that's-
government.
But I guess that's usually how it works. Once the government, once either the president or the premier
Yeah.
chooses this alcohol for those big events, obviously the alcohol will gain in reputation and so in social position, if I can say it like that. So obviously, I really didn't know that it came from that story, but because we say in Chinese, well, we say 国酒, it's like
Right.
the national liquor, the
Right.
national
It's not
alcohol.
an official title, but it's kind of perceived by the whole country,
Right.
by all. If we come back to the price of Moutais and what is, because we have a story, because it's happening in an auction in Nanjing just several days ago, and they had one whole box of Moutais which were made in 1985, so it's about 20-something years already. And they have 12 bottles. And the final auction price for that 12 bottles of Moutais made in 1985,
Few millions?
it's 1.3 million.
RMB,
Yeah.
US RMB.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Is it a good investment? Does it really appreciate with time? Is it really like for every year that it sits there?
Good question. Good
It's-
question.
it's more
Because only
valuable?
1 year before that, the price for that box of Moutais is only like 5,000 for each, or 6,000 for each. So it's been
So it is a good
double,
investment.
tripled. It's for
But
many
it can
times.
it can be understood if you think of antiques, for example. Sometimes if you have a vase, maybe it's like let's say 20,000 for one. But if you have the pair, maybe it's 80,000 for the pair. You know
Well,
what I mean?
but this is
Because
a
the pair was-
perishable. This is something you put inside your body eventually. I mean, is it healthy? It's good. I mean, I really even know that
well,
about
it's supposed to be. When it's
Yeah, I
good,
mean,
it's supposed to be healthy. But
Yeah, they are good. I'm talking about these Moutais made in 1981. These are the good ones. But I guess one of the major reasons for that high price is basically we have limited channels for investment. And you have that need, that looking for any possible investment channels, like for antiques, for real estate, or even in Moutai, and that's one of the reasons why this is happening.
But you also have different types of how do you call it? Collectioners?
Collectors' items.
Collectors. Yeah, you have people that actually invest in art, in everything, but you also have people who don't see that as an investment. It's just a price, no object purchase, and they may be drinking it in the next 10 years. It depends.
That's why
on the
this
people.
is so different, because like with art, antiques, you actually see them, or even if you invest in gold, it's there. But if you have what was that, 12 bottles of Moutai, where do you put it? Do you stack it on your shelf, or do you put it in a safe in the bank? I mean, it's worth a lot of money.
If they've spent 1.3 million for that box, they'll have a place.
Or do you drink a bottle and save the rest?
Do you drink a bottle of 120,000?
Well, actually, the most expensive wine that I've seen was 100,000 RMB for wine, a bottle of wine.
100,000.
100,000?
Yeah.
For one bottle.
For one bottle of wine.
Well, wine can go pretty high.
Really?
And the thing is,
But that's
It's
still
basically
pretty
the same philosophy. I mean, that can be applied to either Moutai or red wines.
Yes,
or, I mean,
because
it's the same thing.
sometimes what you buy is history. It's already above the quality of the alcohol. Let me explain. Maltai is a little better because it grows a little bit better than wine. Because for a lot of wines, the ideal time would be to open it within 10 years or 20 years, but not over 20 years. So a lot of wines that are from, let's say, this 1960s, actually, I've talked to wine experts because I've done a lot of wine events, and I mean, they'll say that most of the time, you can have a few exceptions, but they're way past the best time to drink them. They're still very good, but they are not. They may not be as good as they once were.
They're off their peak.
And so they still have to be that price. They have to be, as you say, 100,000 RMB or even more. But they are not worth. They're not even as good as bottles that may cost 20 times less.
What about this? Because in one of these archaeological sites, actually in Shandong, I don't quite remember where, but they, in that excavation, they successfully, dug out some bottles, not Moutai, dug out some ancient liquor.
No, you mean like it's actually still in liquid form?
Yeah.
But when
it's about 1,000 or even longer than that years ago. They sold it in auction.
Yes, but I don't advise anyone to drink it.
No.
We don't know, but remember, this is something from over 1,000 years ago.
Wow, no, so
people made it and it's still there. You don't drink it, but it's still there.
Evaporate, it didn't, how is that possible? Well, what kind of a bottle was it kept in? That's my question.
That's another topic for a crossover, but we are going to take a short break. When we come back, well, we are going to change our topic to red wine. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Crossover. And how is that happening? Why, after 1,000, even longer than that years, it's still in liquidity, but it's happening. That's a real story.
You know what it makes me think of? You know, in those movies, sometimes there's some old thing and you don't know if it's good or not, and you open the bottle and some poisonous gas or something comes out.
Yeah, but what I can tell you is those archaeologists, they're fine. So
well,
they didn't drink it.
No, give that to a lab and make sure that it's in good form.
Still good. They actually did.
Did anybody drink it?
No, not drink it. They did actually give it to laboratories, and they have tested it. It's still drinkable. It's still okay.
Huh.
According to those reports.
What would be the word to search for if we were to look it up online? 1,000-year-old alcohol?
Antique wine?
Really?
Try it.
Okay.
Yeah, it happened actually.
Google
archaeologists.
Wine Shandong or liquor Shandong. Type these three words and you'll find it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, and also Julian Moutai me. So these are my 2 notes for today.
Anyway, let's move on. And this time it's about red wine. And what we want to talk about is the price of imported red wine. Because, China, not traditionally a red wine drinking country, but these days in red wine, it's becoming more popular. We see more people drinking red wine. And we've seen lots of different brands of red wine from other countries in France, from Chile, Australia, America, California, right? America. And what was the highest price of red wine you've heard about?
I think maybe like 1,000.
1,000.
That's not expensive. I mean,
Chinese
I know.
red wine.
Yeah,
locally made.
Local. Yeah, Shandong.
Right.
That's not expensive. I mean, there's a lot of wines in the States that go for $1,000 or $2,000 US a bottle.
Sure.
But these days we've seen lots of reports. Actually the media is complaining about the overpriced imported red wine, saying basically the bottom cost of these imported red wine is not that high. It's maybe something like, of course it depends on the quality and country, but the bottom price might be something like 20 or 30 RMB, but when it's properly and fancily packed, when it's when it's bottled, when it's packed, when it's put into a small wooden case, then the price can be as high as 500.
Yes, but
going from 20, 30 to as high as 500. And when it's sold in places like the restaurants or even hotels, then it can be as high as 1,000.
The people who actually are making money out of it are not the foreigners either. It's also the Chinese people who are doing it. And also, the taxes are pretty high, this I know. And it's kind of the rule of the market to keep it at a certain price and to have, they have an ideal ratio of selling it. So it's the same for everything. If I'm still on my point. If China was selling wines for 50 RMB a bottle that could rival with wines that are sold for twice the price from other countries, then okay, we could complain. But the thing is, the Chinese brands themselves, honestly, they sell wines for the same quality for twice the price.
Well, what we are saying, actually, we're not complaining, I mean, about these countries, because basically, as you said, it's basically about the dealers. And what we are saying is because there is that information gap. For all these consumers, customers, we don't really have that much knowledge about where it is produced and which shuttle it is from.
You know, I've seen...
You don't really even can tell what is good and what is not, because we are a relatively young country in terms of red wine.
They do say that in Penglai, in Shandong province, that's one of the best seven places in the world for wine.
I don't really know how to judge from where the bottle is the red wine is good or bad. But if it's the same price, if it is from France, one is from France, the other one is from Chile, I'll take the Chile one.
You're a smart guy. You're a smart guy.
Because, you know, France is basically known for its red wine culture, so basically part of the prize is given to that.
But sometimes some small producers from France are willing to sell for a cheaper market, and they have some really, really good wines. I even know some wine producers French producers, but in China, they were making wine in the Shanxi province. Now they're in Shandong, and they had a white one that was very, very decent, very, very good.
There's something else I'm very curious about is why are wine bottles all shaped that way? Why hasn't anybody made a different wine bottle? I'm serious.
No,
why? Well, but they're pretty much
yes.
that same shape.
What about, I don't know, maybe for that industry, standardization is one of the key issues
if
to
you think
reduce
about it, though,
the
it's
costs.
kind of odd. Why?
Yeah.
Well, then, I would say maybe once you have an industry standard in place, it's obviously you reduce the cost by making it that way. But about the shape of the glasses,
racks are shaped like that. So if you make a square bottle,
but
then
it
don't fit.
The shape of the glasses is very.
They're different.
Yeah, it's very important because for each type of alcohol, for example, champagne, you have very slim glasses with a little closed up. Yeah, you
keep
have
that flavor.
Well, to keep the bubbles first of all, to keep the gas in. But
yeah, I mean, no matter what kind of bottles they're in, Chinese people now are starting to drink red wines, but maybe still drink it in the very Chinese way, because, you know, in those big banquets, we'll see lots of bottoms ups, and it doesn't really matter what's in there. It's Maotai or it's red wine, it's locally made or it's imported ones. It's bottoms up. Here we go.
You know a story as something I was translating for a guy who used to be the president